Hey everybody, tonight I'm planning on having spaghetti and meatballs with the family. You know, that's the American style, not the real Italian style, because they don't really quite do it that way from what I understand. Normally we have garlic bread, but we do that all the time. And tonight we're going to do focaccia bread. So today's recipe is focaccia bread. And you know, if you like the recipe, please like it, thumbs it up, share it with your friends. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, because all that stuff really does help me out a lot. Anyway, let's get started on the recipe. The ingredient list is very simple. We've got flour, salt, yeast, water, olive oil. For a basic focaccia bread, that's all you need. I mean, it's a real basic bread anyway. So I have 2.5 cups of flour. I did measure it, I didn't weigh it. If you want to weigh your flour for accuracy, it's 120 grams of flour per cup. Anyway, put our salt in there, mix that up a little bit. You don't really want to put salt and yeast right on top of the pile together. They don't get along very well. Basically, salt can kill your yeast. But now, this small amount of flour, you don't need a lot of yeast to survive. It'll probably be all right. And this is instant yeast, so I don't have to proof it. I'm going to go ahead and throw the whole package in there. Don't necessarily have to do that. All you need is a little bit, because yeast is a living thing, and it will make a big population in there. It'll expand and grow and all that good stuff. Anyway, give that just a little mix. Put our olive oil in here. Got 2 tablespoons of olive oil. And then I got 1 cup of water. We're gonna put this in. Now, because I didn't weigh the ingredients, I may have to make adjustments, but you know, that's life. We're going to mix this up. I'm going to start out using a spatula, then I'll get in there with my hands here in just a minute. It's looking pretty good. Don't think I'm going to have to really add much or tweak. We'll see. Well, looks like we're sitting pretty good. What we're going to dust our counter with some more flour. Our dough's looking pretty good, so I don't need a lot of flour. If our dough was looking a little bit too wet, then I'd put a little bit extra. Let's go ahead and put the dough out here. And we're going to knead this for a few minutes, because it's kneady. I'm sorry, bad joke, I know. It's a little bit damp, that's okay. See, a little bit sticky. Just gonna keep working this in. And we're gonna do this for just a few minutes. See how it's getting all sticky? Don't worry about it. A little flour. And I got a secret weapon. And see, if it gets real sticky, take your pastry scraper and just incorporate it back in. It's not complicated. Maybe messy, but not complicated. There we go. And I think that's going to be plenty of flour. Yeah, that's going to do it just about right like that. That's what I want. It's nice and elastic. Maybe just a tiny bit more. Probably could have used this a little bit of flour there. There. Now, be right back. I have a bowl here. Put some olive oil in there. We're going to take our dough ball, and then we're going to take this olive oil, smear it all around, coat the bowl, turn our dough upside down. Then I'm going to cover this with some plastic wrap and let it double in size. If you're in a hurry, add a little bit of sugar because the sugar will help the yeast get established, but don't put too much. You don't really want a lot of sugar in this bread. It's not a sweet bread. So later on, I'm going to need some fresh rosemary. I need it chopped up pretty good. I need about somewhere between half and a teaspoon of chopped rosemary. Rosemary is pretty strong, so you don't need a whole lot of it. And because it is strong, that's the reason why it goes so well with like lamb. But I mean, this is bread, so we're not going to need just a few sprigs. And we're going to chop it up pretty fine, which is why I'm using this thing. That looks pretty good. It's been an hour and 45 minutes, and my dough is looking really good. It's nice and puffy. I got me a sheet pan here. A little olive oil on here. Come up the sides. There we go. It's looking good. Now we're going to turn this out. Also deflate it at the same time. We'll slowly stretch this out. We're not in a hurry. Try to stretch it out too fast, you can start to tear it. Which is okay too, because you can kind of make it go back together. Any bubbles you see, you want to pop them. See how it stretches out, then it pulls back. That's fine. We're just gonna, nice and easy. And if it doesn't go all the way in the corners, that's fine too. So now we've got our bread pretty much stretched out. We're gonna put on some more olive oil. If you have an aversion to olive oil, this is not the bread for you. Now we're going to take our rosemary, we're going to sprinkle some on. You could use any herb that you want. Now I'm only doing like half of this because some people don't like rosemary. There we go. That looks pretty good. I have some Catamella olives. These are the kinds without seeds. And we're just going to kind of throw them on here. These would have already been de-seeded. They're not really the kind without. But you can get the slices or whatever. Just make it look pretty nice. Just gonna mash them in. There we go. That. Some coarse sea salt. We're not really salting the bread. We're just putting a little something on the top. Little flavor surprises, I guess you could call it. Sprinkle that on. And now we're going to preheat our oven to 425F while we let this rise for about 15-20 minutes. The oven's preheated and our dough is starting to puff up a little bit, so the yeast is definitely working again. And we're going to put it in the oven for about 20 minutes until it gets nice and brown. And after 22 minutes, this is what it looks like. Now we're going to let this cool down a little bit. You see how the olives are kind of cooked down a little bit. It's a little bit firm on the top. You could actually see the olive oil frying on the top of the bread while it was cooking. It's kind of hard not to tear into this right now, but I do want to let it cool down just a little bit before I cut into it. One thing I did do is I transferred the bread to a cooling rack. That way, as it cools down, it doesn't get moisture developing under the bottom of the bread, because if you do that, then the bottom gets soggy, and I don't want that. Now this is kind of thin. If you want your focaccia to be thicker, just use a smaller pan. I mean, if you want it thinner, use a bigger pan, or make 2 pans. Look at that, listen to that. Somebody's ready for a taste test. Nice little air bubbles. So let's give our bread a try. Inside is nice and white and airy. The outside on bottom and top, look at the bottom of that over here. It's nice and crusty. It's got a nice crunch to it. You got the little hits of salt, little bits of rosemary, and the rosemary is not overpowering because we chopped it up real fine, put just a small amount on there. And then you got the Katamata olive. I haven't tasted that yet, but I know that's going to be good. Anyway, please give the recipe a try, and if you like it, thumbs up and subscribe, all that good stuff.